we record these so that they can be posted on Facebook and YouTube later for those who can't join us. So this is your warning, you're being recorded. It will be out there in the public later. So don't do anything crazy or embarrassing. As always, Rep Morgan, do you want to welcome everybody and then I'll do my announcements? Oh, you're muted.
I thought you said I would be the only one unmuted. Just joking. Well, first of all, I want to welcome everyone to another District 4 meeting. Obviously, you guys know we try to keep the community as informed as we can about what's going on within the city, what's coming up, and to get information from you all, because obviously you all know I've been in Senate for the last 3.5 years. You guys are our eyes and our ears in the community. If it was not for you all, many of the projects and many of the accomplishments that we've had over the last 3.5 years would not be possible, because you all make us very aware of what's going on, from vandalism to potholes to streets needing to be repaired, to just everything that we've been able to accomplish in the last 3.5 years comes from the community. It doesn't come from me, it comes from us. So I want to thank you all for that. With that being said, welcome to this meeting. We have a special guest tonight, but before I introduce him, I want Lindsay to go over the rest of her announcements. Okay, Lindsay?
Absolutely. So I have quite a few, but I'm going to go quick so we can get to our guest speaker. First, I don't think Kim is here tonight. I don't see her on. Did anybody see Kim join in? Well, I'll say it anyway. Last week we were talking about like reporting junk vehicles and different stuff like that. So I just wanted to let you all know that please continue to use 311. It's a really good process that the city has. So if you have any of those issues, please use 311. You can call or you can report online or via the app. But our code compliance department is in the process of transitioning to the police department. So if you have an issue, sometimes 311 might ask you to call PD non-emergency instead. So I just want you guys to be prepared for that. I know it's kind of like a tedious process, but during this transition, just be aware of that. You might have to call PD non-emergency to report some of these issues that before you were able to report through 311. So, and of course, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can always call our office. We're happy to help and get things reported. The next thing, El Paso is fighting hunger. I know I tell you guys this every week, but they're looking for volunteers. So if you know anybody over the age of 16 who is currently healthy and is willing to volunteer, they need volunteers. We just sent out our newsletter for today. It went out about 15 minutes ago, and there's a link in there on how you can register for that. So if you know anybody who has time and wants to volunteer, please send them that way. Oh, there's Kim. She just joined in. The next thing I want to let you all know about is, I don't know if you guys saw it on our Facebook last night, but we also put it out in our newsletter today. Veterans Park Recreation Center just got a little bit of a makeover in their gymnasium. So now it is a tribute to veterans. It looks really great. If you have a chance, head over to our Facebook to check it out, or check it out in our newsletter. It's beautiful, and it's a tribute to all branches of the military. Unfortunately, we can't use it yet, but once we're back to normal, we say that a lot, but I don't know when that will happen. You guys will be able to check that out in person. So it's a really cool thing that Parks and Recreation did for the Northeast, and it's at Veterans Park, which is very fitting. And then my last update is about grants. If you know anybody who has a small business who needs grants right now, there's a lot of different grants out there, and all of that information is in our newsletter, but I just wanted you all to know lots of money available for small businesses. So please, 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 if you know anybody that needs the money, have them reach out to us or to the Economic Development Department. There's a lot of different grants out there, so we need y'all to take advantage of those, because as we all know, it's hard for small businesses to stay afloat right now. So any help they can get is definitely appreciated. Yeah, somebody in the chat just asked how to sign up for the newsletter. That's a great question. If you do not receive our newsletter, you can sign up on our webpage, elpasotexas.gov/district4. There's a subscribe button there, or you can email our office and we will subscribe you through email. So whichever you prefer, we can do that for you. That's all my announcements. I'll hand it back over to Rep Morgan.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Lindsay. Hey, do me a favor, Lindsay, in the chat area, just go ahead and type in that information you just gave. So if they weren't able to write it down as fast as you can say it, they have that information. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. First of all, second of all, I want to thank you guys all for coming out here. It looks obviously, you know, you all know that we go out of our way to make sure that we have guest speakers every other week. Last week was very interesting. You know, you guys had a lot to say, but that's nothing new for us here in the Northeast, right? We always have a lot to say. But our guest speakers, we try to get people that are relevant to our community to help us understand better our city government. And our guest tonight is Mayor DeMargo. And I believe this is your 5th or 6th time in the last 3 years. So he's no stranger to the Northeast. He's been our guest speaker at multiple events over the last few years since we all came into office. So with that being said, no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our mayor, Mayor DeMargo.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan. It's a pleasure to be here. I was appreciative of the invitation. There's so much going on. I'm not sure where to start. I'm not sure we shouldn't just have Q&A. I just was texted just now that apparently the judge's shutdown order was stayed by the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals. So if that is factual, then from my standpoint, that's a positive. We've had this with COVID. We've had this unequal balancing act, and my position now, it's become a tight wire. It's become a tight wire between our health, the number of positives we're having, the trend lines, the hospitalizations, the fact that we had to set up an alternate care site at the convention center, which is going to be set up for the full 100 beds that are capable of doing that. We've had Texas Department of Emergency Management bring in tents to put them in all the hospitals. And every day I have a meeting with Dr. Ocaranza, our designated public health authority, Mario D'Agostino, our fire chief, who's in charge of our emergency operations center, and all of the relevant people to talk about what our trends looking like, what our capacities are, et cetera. So we monitor it as best we can. Things have changed on a daily basis. I think we're doing everything we need to do. The governor has been very receptive. Everything I have ever asked him for that we need through Texas Department of Emergency Management, TDEM, and we have over 1,400 medical personnel here from all over the state and all over the nation. And the Department of Defense is also now getting involved and to help manage as well as provide excess support. We have asked for Beaumont to be used as overflow for non-COVID patients. And thus far, we have not been able to obtain that. But I understand that as the political environment on a national level starts to settle down a little bit, that we may have a chance and DOD allow us to do that, which would be a better care setting for the families and the patients. But everything that we've asked for from the governor from day one, he's provided. It's provided at his cost. I say his cost, the state's cost. We've had to medically evac about 40, maybe 50 patients thus far. I don't have the numbers from today throughout Texas to free up. These are non-COVID patients who've gone to other hospitals throughout Texas. We have to air evac because of the distance. When the Rio Grande Valley was going through this a few weeks ago, they were just simply putting non-COVID patients that could be transferred into ambulances and sending them to San Antonio and other communities there. We seem to be having, we hope and pray, a bit of a stabilizing number. The hospitalizations on the 7-day rolling average today are actually 134 down from the hospitalizations of the previous rolling 7-day average. We've had below 1,000 positives announced the last 2 days. And I remember after city council on Tuesday night when we had I think it was 800 and some odd. I've got the numbers exactly if you need me to pull them out and give them to you. I called Dr. Ocaranza and I said, do you think this is a sign? And he said, well, we don't know yet. It'll take about 5 days to know whether or not we've started to plateau. In the Rio Grande Valley, which went through the same type of spikes we went through, I had our health department verify, Angela Mora, head of our health department, public health authority, verify with her counterpart in Hidalgo County about how long did it take them from the time they started spiking till they started having a plateau. And that was about 4 weeks. So 4 weeks ago today is the day we announced 1,161 positives, which was the first time we exceeded 1,000. And the night before, Dr. Ocaranza and Mario D'Agostino had called me and said, we got to do something. And you may recall the very next day, I was trying to get ahead of the governor. The governor's orders stated that if you had in your trauma service area, we're trauma service area 1, and that includes El Paso County and sorry, the Attorney General's office is calling. I guess it has to do with there is a stay that's really been done. I'll call them back. But the trauma service area, which includes El Paso, Hudspeth, and Culbertson County, in order for us to maintain at the time 75% occupancy for businesses, then we had to be less than 15% hospitalizations. And we saw a big spike. We were like at 28% that day. And I announced this day 4 weeks ago that we would drop the occupancy for restaurant bars to 50% from 75, and that we would close them at 9 p.m. for anything other than takeout, that they would end and people disperse. And I spent a lot of time talking with the Northeast Business Association and the businesses in the Northeast related to that, and we were trying to go back and forth, and then things started spiking. I hope and pray we've reached the point where we maybe are getting control of this. Just to put it back in context, which we've said, and hopefully you're aware, the bulk from our contact tracing, we find the 3 top areas for spread, and basically everything is community spread, but the 3 top areas for spread are the large big box retailers. And as you know, in El Paso, it's a family event to go shopping, and multiple generations sometimes go, and all the kids and everybody. Is 37% of our positives from a contact tracing standpoint were coming from big box. About 22%, as I recall, were restaurant bars, and 20% were coming from travel to Mexico. Now, there's not supposed to be any travel to Mexico that if it's non-essential, although if you're a resident and you have the legal paperwork, you can go back and forth. And so you all know, I'm sure, that Juarez is going through some significant spikes right now. They've had a shutdown, basically a curtailing in Juarez. Mayor Cabada was in the hospital with COVID. So this is kind of what we're dealing with. My position on the judge's shutdown, which sounds like it's been stayed, was I have done everything that Dr. Ocaranza suggested we do. They drive my decisions, or our decisions, on what needs to be done. And the bulk of the small businesses, the bookstores, the card shops, the gyms, have not been shown to be driving the spread of COVID. And that's why I've not been in favor, although by law, when the judge passed and said that this document, the judge's orders was correct. In state law, in the state of Texas, the county judge outranks the mayor. That's just the way it works. And so the governor, though, outranks both of us. And our original feedback from the Attorney General's office was this was a conflicting order, and that was why we had the delay in enforcement. But it may be all for naught if, in fact, stay tuned to the news tonight. It does sound like we've got a stay on this, and that the small businesses and the restaurants can go back to functioning within the limits we've already set. So that's kind of where we are on that. The hospital chains seem to be having the support. We have no issues on PPE. We've had no issues on testing material. One of the things we've tested over 500,000 here, and that's tremendous. We're also finding with the testing that we're having fewer asymptomatic. When we were first starting our testing, it looked like about 20% of the test results of positives came back, and they were asymptomatic, meaning no symptoms whatsoever. Now that's not the case. It's down to, I think, 12 or 13% of the tests coming back are asymptomatic, which means we have more symptomatic, which means more spread and community spread. The last thing I'll say about this, and come back to it if you have questions, is when we talked to the Rio Grande Valley, we went back and said, where was your spread coming from your spike? And they said it was primarily home gatherings. And I'm convinced that's still indigenous to us. It's kind of who we are as a culture. We're multi-generational, and families are a big deal, which, as we talk about Thanksgiving coming up, please be mindful, wear those masks, maintain the distancing, and don't gather in big groups. So I'll end with that on a COVID update, unless you have further questions. We cut the city budget this year by 16 million. My concern, partly on the shutdown that the county judge was doing, was that I had an email today from a gentleman whose inventory tax was coming due. He said it was about $3,000, and his inventory tax was going to be high because he hadn't been open and available to sell what the inventory was. And when they can't do that, when you can't run your business, it's going to affect the city. It's going to affect everybody. It's going to affect our services. When you talk from the basics of potholes to everything else. So that's the big issue that Sam and I and others are going to have to be dealing with in the next year. I actually think next year is going to be tougher than this year. But we will do that. I want no tax increases, and our tax rates and debt structure is a whole lot better than what occurred previously. So we keep hearing out there, our total debt structure is about $1.9 billion between general obligation and collateral obligation bonds. But the cost of that, we've gone from 5.9 cents, I think, or 5.8 cents of tax rate for the maintenance and operations portion of the bonds down to 0.9 cents, which affects the overall. We've refinanced about 47 million in costs, and continue to look at that. And the interest rate environment right now, where we are, especially for municipal bonds, should allow us to do some more refinancing. And I'd like to wait to see where we stand after the runoff election, and I'm hopeful that I'll be retained as mayor. And one of the things I want to do is I want to start the process of the public safety bond we passed a year ago. The east side is another city, the way they have grown. And I want to get the regional command center there. Up in the northwest, we need another fire EMS station over by Trans Mountain. And we've got a lot of other issues related to police and fire headquarters and training academies. And Sam's talked about the, what is it, Sam? The Angora Loop. We got to get the Angora Loop taken care of.
Yes, sir.
That's a priority, and Sam's hammered that into me and everybody else. And so we want to move ahead as fast as we can on getting those projects done. To me, that's life safety. I know the distance it takes for people to get help, for the ambulances to show up, school buses when we're going, et cetera. I'm not sure what else to hit up on right now on that. Those are probably the two most primary things. Why don't I just open it up for questions?
All right, Lindsay, if you could, you make sure that you identify who we're going to have. The only other thing that I would like to talk that the mayor he touched upon it. Obviously, you all know that we have the 911 call center over on Threadgill, but I don't know if you all were aware that this past Tuesday, past council session, we also approved the final funding for our new health department in the Northeast, which is going to be on Threadgill, right across the street from the 911 center. So you want to talk about community safety? We're doing it all. Okay, we got a new health department that's going to take care of COVID, and that's where all the storage for COVID supplies and PPE is going to be maintained. That's where you're going to be able to go get your vaccinations, your shots, to be able to be tested for COVID. And we have in the very near future, going on the backside or the eastern corner of Cohen Stadium area, the Cohen site, the new police headquarters. You want to talk about safety and growth of our community? That's the way we're looking at it. We're going to be safety central. How's that? So the mayor did talk to you about the COVID and all the things that we're doing. And just so you know, that new health department will be open no later than the December, the end of the month, December 30th. So if y'all were paying attention to what we just did the last couple of nights ago, the Northeast is in good shape. So thank you, Mayor.
Sure.
Lindsay, go ahead.
Yeah, so for questions, if you guys have a question, if you could just raise your hand so I can call on you, or you can put the question in the chat and I'll ask it for you. Miss Beth has already raised her hand. So Miss Beth, go ahead and ask your question. You'll have to unmute yourself. All right.
I'm sorry. I wasn't raising my hand. I was reaching for my pen. I'm sorry.
Oh. Okay.
You guys are quiet tonight. Too quiet. I'm nervous. What's going on?
I can't unmute.
There you go. There you are. Go ahead.
Oh, all right. Well, good evening, everybody.
Hey, Beth.
I do have a few questions for you. COVID is getting closer to home. Now, I'm the type person that says, it's a bunch of BS. However, I also believe that fear begets fear, scared begets scared, love begets love. But I'm not going to go out and be stupid, not wear a mask and all this and that. But COVID is getting a little close to home. My daughter lives 9 houses away from me, and her 17-year-old daughter just tested positive for COVID on Tuesday.
Sorry, Beth.
It's part of the Parkland, part of the Parkland, where she works with the athletes, and they test, Eastletic tests constantly. Last Wednesday she was negative, and then this Tuesday she came out positive, and they think it happened when they went to a football game. But anyways, her son, my daughter's son as well, Melinda, he was at Permian Basin, wanted to surprise mom on Wednesday. Yeah, he sure did, because he got tested Tuesday also, and he came home positive. So, but this is some of the issues that's been coming up from what I'm hearing. One of my granddaughters works at a daycare, and she was working there with no problems. And on a third day, this one woman that's been working with them comes in and tells the staff and her boss that she tested positive. It seems that she got tested on Saturday. So my question is, why isn't anybody telling, or why are they not paying attention? Well, okay, let me rephrase that. I don't know if the testing center told her she is not to come to work. So by her coming to work, she has affected many people. My granddaughter, who has a baby that's only 3 months old, other children that were there, and she was greeting all the parents and the children until that day. My granddaughter told the company, I am going to go get tested. I mean, she went that afternoon to get tested, and I'm not going to come in. and you're going to have to pay me. And the daycare center told her, no, I'm not going to pay you a dime. You can go ahead and you can take off those 2 weeks, but I'm not going to pay you. My granddaughter went ahead and took the 2 weeks. Now, and she tried to apply for unemployment. Now, in the same with another family, there's another situation where this woman works for agency, temporary company agency. The supervisor came out positive on a test. The company told her, we need you here. You have to come in to work. That person, it's actually my granddaughter's mother-in-law, told the company, she tested for COVID, but I am not going to come in to work because you're forcing this supervisor to come in even though she's positive. What do they do in that situation?
It is illegal to force anybody to come in. Let me try to address a number of things you said. The delay on the testing or the acknowledgement or the contact tracing, where we have some delays, and we've been putting it out. It's on the website. We're telling people the private labs may notify you, but the private labs won't notify. It goes to the state and then it comes to the public health department. That's when we start the contact tracing. If we test at a city site or at UTEP or those, it goes directly to the city's lab and we immediately on it. But there can be 24 to 48 hours delay between a private lab and the report that they go to the state and then they come to us. But in the interim, everybody's supposed to be given a disclaimer notice that says, if you are notified that you test positive, please call this number, the health department, and let us know. It is illegal to make anybody go to work and be demanded to go to work by a supervisor or otherwise. And you need to report it to 311 and they will investigate. It is bar none, it is illegal. They can't do that. And so, you know, people just need to get the word out on that stuff. I hear about it. We used to hear about it primarily from the call centers. And we would send our inspectors by to validate and do surprise inspections. And we couldn't find any. We didn't have anything. It turned out on a couple of occasions it may have been, you know, there were reports, but it was a disgruntled employee that reported, and we could not find any basis for that. So, but if you know firsthand, if it's family member, whatever, they need to call 311 and they need to report it appropriately because it is illegal for that to occur. And that's the best I can tell you. But there is a lag time between the private labs and the notification to the public health department so we can start the contact tracing. Okay.
Perfect. All right, we have some questions coming through the chat, so I'll go ahead and read them for you, Mayor. The first one is, does the judge's order address mandatory masks with fine enforcement? And can this be a solution in lieu of shutting down small businesses and also limiting customers in large retails?
On the masks, the orders have said from basically day one, we initially had a mask mandate, but it was encouraged, there wasn't a fine. And then the governor finally came around. You get a warning the first time you're not wearing a mask. The second time you get a $250 fine, and each subsequent time it's $250. That's the way the orders read. That's the way my orders read before the judge's shutdown order, and his shutdown order reads the same way. We have contacted the big box retailers corporately. They are what we call essential businesses, so we have no control, which has been my argument on some of the shutdown, is kind of picking winners and losers. I mean, you can go to Walgreens and buy a greeting card, but you can't go to the Hallmark shop. You know, and it's the small businesses aren't really the driver for this. Gyms aren't the driver for this. Dr. Okarans and I were talking about tonight. We really want gyms open because that's helps your health. I mean, it keeps you safer from contracting the virus than anything else. So, but it does appear that the order has been, based on the number of texts that I'm getting right now as I talk to you, it does appear that the judge's order has been stayed. I got my second call from the AG's office, which I'll call after we're through. But I'm glad. I didn't think the real disappointment for me.
Sir, if I could you explain to the group what stay means? I know what it means, but
It's set aside. It's a set aside. It means it's not enforceable. It is not enforceable. It still means there are still going to be legal issues to deal with, and maybe the Supreme Court or whatever. But basically what it says in this case, the state probably is on the basis of that he violated the governor's order number 42, and the governor supersedes the county judge. But I can't remember the other question. Was what was the other question part?
What about limiting customers in large retail?
Yeah. We have talked, they're considered essential businesses. We have no legal control over that. That's determined by the Homeland Security under what they call CISA, which controls the businesses that remain open irrespective of any issues, medical issues. But we have contacted all of them and are requesting that they do something about limiting occupancy. They can only do it of their own volition, and we've encouraged that. And we've also been encouraging the last several weeks that families don't go out in droves with everybody going to the store. But I also know if you're a single parent, you got no choice. And so that's just be mindful of that. Our human behavior is until we have the vaccine, which I understand we're getting closer to, the only way that all the epidemiologists across the world, virtually all of them, state the only way you stop this spread is wearing the face covering and maintaining the distancing and washing your hands. It sounds almost too simple for too many people. And then when we get around the bars and the restaurants and you drink the alcohol, the guards go down and people are right there. Over 50% of our positives are coming from the ages of 20 to 39. Okay. That's where the bulk of it is. It's that population that thinks they're invincible. And it's unfortunate because they're the ones spreading it to those that are most vulnerable. And we are a population demographic that is highly vulnerable. And if the numbers we give every day on the deaths, which are people, they're not stats, they're people with families, are invariably underlying conditions in every single one. I think there's been less than 5% of all of the deaths we've had and report that did not have an underlying condition. And those primary underlying conditions are hypertension, which is high blood pressure, and diabetes. Those are the two most. And obesity is in there, but it's not listed as a CDC underlying cause. And that's our culture. We love eating. Believe me, people look at me and know that. So that's where we are. What else, Lindsay?
Okay, I'm getting a lot of messages, so bear with me, everyone. The next one is about unemployment. This person says she was laid off in May, and she's having issues when it comes to searching for jobs in El Paso. Is there a way for the Workforce Solutions to, I guess they've been canceling their job fairs, their virtual job fairs. Is there a way that we can encourage them to have their job fairs, get them back up and running so people who are unemployed can see what's available to work?
I think we can, and frankly, Lindsay, I'll let Dr. Morgan initiate that one. I think you all can initiate that as much as I can. Okay.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
The next question, why are non-emergency doctors' offices allowed to be open? I took my parents to an office that was not following COVID guidelines. The waiting was full, no hand sanitizer. Employees were overheard stating that 3 people working had tested positive and they were forced to go to work. We immediately left, but basically, is anybody checking on these offices and why are they able to stay open if it's non-routine?
Well, doctors' offices are considered essential, so there's no control. But if you're aware of a violation, and this sounds like it was horrible, call 311. And if you're not getting an answer on 301, I'd call 911. I mean, I'd report it. That's dangerous. So yeah, that needs the police our code enforcement, whoever's involved, can't enforce if they don't know about it. And doctors' offices are not something we're going to inspect. That's an essential business. So people need to report it.
Absolutely. The next question is from Rose, but I think she had to step away to help a customer, so I'll skip that one and come back to her. The next one, somebody says, I support you, Mayor Margot, in your efforts to keep small businesses working. Mass shutdowns, when we did it in the beginning, it was necessary because we knew nothing about COVID. Today's environment, we at some point need to learn to live with it by following basic rules, wash your hands. I guess it's not really a question. That was a PSA.
It's true. The most vulnerable, the lowest of the lowest, are hurt more on a shutdown than any other group, and that's what's concerning with this thing. And I'm glad there's a stay. So far, I've had somewhere around 10 texts so far while I've been talking, which means that they did get the stay, and I'm sure I'll have to answer some news media after we're through.
Yes, sir. We actually have some people in our chat saying that if you would like to take the call from the AG, we can wait for you to come back. It's up to you.
It'll be longer than probably we want.
Okay. Perfect. All right. I don't know if Rose is back from helping the customer, but she had a question about yard hoarding.
Say that again.
Like people hoarding things in their yards. She didn't put the actual question. I don't know if she's back.
Well, if you got people with that, I mean, Sam knows you can get that reported. That's part of our code. It's code enforcement, and they will get involved and do it. It's the same way when weeds are overcome and all that other. If it's a hazard, code enforcement's there. So, Lindsay, I'll just need to report.
Lindsay, reach back out to that person and tell them to send us the address, and we can reach out to code enforcement. Just so you guys do know, the transition, a lot of folks have been talking about code enforcement over the last couple of months, but again, I ask you for your patience because code enforcement is being transferred over to PD. Okay, so all of that is transitioning from Ellen Smythe's section environmental over to the police department. Okay, where code enforcement compliance is actually going to be ramped up. But Lindsay, get that information, get that address about that hoarder, and we'll go ahead and get that sent over to PD.
Yeah, and if you guys are following the chat, Angela is putting all the phone numbers and stuff in there and also getting information from y'all. So I don't see any more questions in the chat, but somebody, Miss Avila, I believe, raised your hand. Are you on the line?
Yes.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Yes, definitely. Hi, my name is Jocelyn. I'm a District 4 constituent. I just wanted to ask, so when we report issues by calling 311, who answers these calls? Who are they?
They're located over at the 9/11 Fusion Center, and they are trained special operators, and they are not direct city employees. They're contracted city employees through another firm, but they actually are in the same space as the 9/11 operators, except they're segregated into another area. So it's all right there at the 9/11 Fusion Center over by you all and Railroad, and I don't know what that other street is.
Threadgill.
Threadgill. Yeah, that's right. So that's who it is.
Right. Do we have a task force here in El Paso that's dedicated to addressing this issue?
You talking about inspection issues, verification issues?
Right. Yes, because I'm pretty sure we can all agree these are very desperate times, and since the order is not enforceable yet, I think this would be a great time to negotiate with Judge Samaniego and keep businesses open, but have more enforceable rules. For example, I can name possibly like 3 restaurants off the top of my head that don't follow guidelines. I've been there, I've seen it. So how are these restaurants being handled? Because I don't want the shutdown to affect small businesses, but small businesses are not following guidelines either. So how can we negotiate with Judge Samaniego and find a solution to this?
Well, Jocelyn, we have a setup with TABC. Fact is, one of the things I asked the governor to do was to help us on enforcement, because we were hearing reports about, I mean, what we allowed, the state allowed the bars. You all understand the difference. You become a restaurant if less than 51% of your sales is non-alcohol, or is alcohol. Less than 51% of your sales is alcohol. So you need 51% or more non-alcohol, is a better way to say it. And you had a number of bars who really didn't even have any kitchens, but the state allowed them to use food trucks. So they could pull a food truck up and have a quote partnership and contribute, and the dollars be contributed. And I was hearing all kinds of anecdotal stories about where you went in and they charge you $1 for the beer and $15 for nachos, that kind of thing. So we went to the governor. I went to the governor before the shutdown saying, we need help on this. So TABC sent the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Control, sent out 20 agents a week before last to go out and help with police and our inspections, code compliance, to verify. And then the shutdown occurred. We have asked for TABC to assist us, and they've been responding. But Jocelyn, when you see that, you got to call 311. That's how we'll know what's going on. If you see something and want to report it, that's where we were hearing a lot of violations, and we were trying to get out there. The police are mindful. We're doing the best we can. I'll also tell you, our public safety's been hit with COVID. I think we've got several hundred out because of that. It's been a strain, and having the shutdown order was adding an additional strain. So they were, to go out and inspect. So I'm hopeful that we'll get back to a semblance of normality with our police and fire, and their ability of the fire marshals to just do their normal jobs. COVID is not good. It isn't going to go away till we control our behaviors. And as I say, we were seeing a lot of this coming from, even when I shut down the bar restaurants at 9, people are going elsewhere to congregate. They're going to homes or other locations and doing that. And when you drink, your guard's down, you're up close and personal, and people are doing it. And I'm convinced that's where a lot of our spread is coming from.
Right, I agree.
So,
Ms. Avila, may I ask you a question?
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. When you said that you've witnessed these situations where people are not complying with some of the restaurants, are you talking about restaurants in the Northeast, or are you talking about El Paso in general?
Just El Paso in general.
Okay. And the reason I say that, because it's a very great observation on your part, and it goes back to what the mayor just said. And it's what we always talk about in the Northeast. It's like, you guys are our eyes and our ears. You all have a responsibility to one another and to the community. If you do see something that is happening that shouldn't happen, no one wants to be a snitch. We all know that. But these are trying times, and we have to do our part. Dial 311 or 911. It's not going to be a priority one call, but the bottom line is at least it's going to get addressed. And just so you all know, obviously, I do my homework. We have had 0 violations of restaurants and bars in the Northeast. One more time, no violations. Okay, because folks in the Northeast are trying to do the right thing. If you take a look at that heat map the other day in City Council, I know the mayor, he gets on us all the time, asked to be, you guys got to let us know first. But I couldn't help it. I just blurted out. If you take a look at the heat map, you don't see the Northeast in there. And you see very small amount of heat in the Northeast because the good people of the Northeast are trying to do the right thing. So we have to try to get our family and our friends, especially those ones that live over there where Lindsay lives, to conform, okay? So thank you for that. Don't be afraid to reach out and call 311 or 911 and report anything if you guys see it happening out there, okay?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's just like I said, it almost feels like responsible businesses are being punished. So that's why I think the task force should definitely maybe even offer a training, something to show businesses what is responsible and what is not responsible to do. I'm really happy to hear that the Northeast is being compliant, but El Paso is really big. So there's definitely going to be some places where they're not being compliant and they're violating these rules. And I just hate to see the responsible ones suffer financially. But yes, definitely, I think it'd be a good idea to push out that number. I didn't know that before today.
Yes.
So I'm glad I do now. Like you said, it's not snitching. It's just a way to keep each other on track to help everybody in both aspects of finance and health.
Well said. Lindsay, do me a favor. In the chat, why don't you go ahead and put up the web address or URL to the dashboard, because I think everyone in this room, in this chat, should be aware of the dashboard, because everything the mayor is telling you right now, you want to talk about transparency, go to that dashboard. You'll see transparency. You know where all the issues are. You know where the heat spots are. You know how many tickets have been given out, how many warnings have been given out. It's all there. It's all there. We can't get any more transparent than that. So please put that link up, Linz, so everyone has access to it.
And what we found out is other communities are copying what we did in our dashboard, because it is so thorough and so complete.
Okay, Mr. Justice had a question. You raised your hand. Go ahead and unmute yourself, sir.
I typed it in the thing, but it didn't show up. I don't know. Is there a possibility, Mayor, for, even though we have people that have citizenship that are traveling back and forth across the border, that we use that 15-minute test while they're in line that they're using in the Ysleta School District? And if they are found to be positive, that's justification for not allowing them to cross into Mexico, and maybe we'll get a reciprocal agreement with Juarez coming back this way. I think, I know I've already lost somebody that died from going shopping in Juarez for baby clothes for her 2-year-old with the mother-in-law that lives in Juarez, and the whole family ended up sick by the time she came back, and then one of them died. But anyway, is it possible it's a health issue that is involved with border crossings where we could do a 15-minute test and then say, sorry, you're positive, you can't go in, you're going to have to go isolate until you get negative?
John, I don't know. I mean, one of the things we've talked to CBP about is, and I've not been in favor of opening the bridges to non-essential because of my concerns over hospitalizations here with the situation in Juarez. But one of the things we've been trying to hit up CBP through Homeland Security about is, what's your plan when we start opening up and on the testing? We don't have the 15-minute test from I can't remember, Abbott Labs. We don't have that. The way the testing material works, the Fed sends it to the state and the state sends it to us. Now, we did get an announcement today that the governor announced. You all remember when President Trump was in the hospital and they gave him a special drug regimen or pharmacological or whatever it was they did. Don't ask me what it was, but he was out like in 2 days. Those same drugs are now being sent to El Paso as the primary recipient in the state of Texas, so that we can deal with those in the hospital that we have to try to not eliminate, but try to make it easier for them to recover, to increase their recovery and get them out. But going back to the bridges and all that, the federal government controls the crossing. We don't control it. And incidentally, that news story that was on KFOX a while back that inferred that our EMS goes over to Juarez to pick up patients and bring them back was totally bogus. We do not, but we have since day one. If there is a call by CBP at the bridges for an emergency, we have responded. I mean, think about it going back. How do you think all those babies got born here? Think about it. That's been by law and by federal dictate. We've got to respond. So we would pick them up at thing. But the crossing right now is simply those who have citizenship or legal documents allowing that crossing. It's not undocumented immigrants. So, you know, John, I think it's part and parcel we got to figure out. We talked about testing in San Ysidro and in San Diego, but they were concerned it would be another 4 hours because they'd have the cars come off the bridge and then they'd stop them and test them all and go through. And we just, right now, we don't have the manpower. And, but the feds are, yeah, they come up with it. We're going to have to come up with more testing, more rapid testing. And so I concur with you. I just don't know how to get it done. Okay. Anything else, Lindsay?
Yes, I have 2 more questions and then 1 more raised hand. The next question is people that aren't listening, having birthday parties, gatherings, what do you recommend in terms of enforcement for those type of gatherings? Because it's unfair to those who do comply and haven't seen their families in months. That's
a tough question. I understand the issues. You can report it to 311. The police will go and show up. But here's the rub. They'll knock on the door, and if they don't let them in, they can't go in because there's not a criminal or impending issue to do it. It's strictly that type of enforcement. So it's a challenge. Again, I go back to my premise. Houston, personal behavior is what drives the spread. So yeah, you could still report it, 311, and they will show up. But unless they're invited in, they don't.
Absolutely. All right. And then another question, is essential business defined the same as it was in March?
Yes. Essential businesses are defined by Homeland Security under what they call CISA, which I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but anyway, it's federal determination.
Yes. Okay. And then 1 more question, then I'll go to Kim, who has her hand up. Is there any way to enforce government officials, example CBP, to wear their masks and follow the mandate?
They're supposed to.
Yeah, they are.
They're supposed to. I have periodic calls with our border sector chiefs and the bridge oversight, Hector Mancha. And if there's somebody, I just send it to Sam or send it to me, and we'll follow up if they've got incidents of that. You remember at the beginning of this pandemic, back in March, the issues were the police didn't have face coverings. And I would get calls from people saying, well, I was stopped for speeding and the policeman came up to my window and he didn't have it. So some of us went out and bought them and gave it to them, but because they didn't have it at the time. And then now we've got plenty. We got plenty of PPE, plenty of everything. So that was kind of that. Just send it to Sam and y'all let me know.
Absolutely. Kim, you had your hand raised. Go ahead, Kim. Oh, sorry.
Just so you know, we only have 6 more minutes, so please be concise.
It's fast. Good evening, Mayor Marco.
Yes.
Thank you for being on here. I appreciate it. As a person who has been laid off and who is definitely job searching, I'm from the Dallas area originally, and I follow the news back home. The Dallas and Tarrant counties have, the Texas Workforce Commission has put on hold the job search you have to do for unemployment benefits to continue your benefit claims. I was wondering if anybody can reach out to Texas Workforce Commission from the Borderplex here, Mayor, because since we're in such a heightened right now, even more so than Tarrant and Dallas County, if we could have that put on hold as well, that's putting a huge strain on me right now, just because the jobs are being posted, sir, on many, I'm in human resources, so I'm in a very professional type of job, but they are hiring, but then they're not reporting anything back. So workforce unemployment benefits require that you do at least 3 job searches each week to retain your benefits. But I'm wondering if you could put in a good word with what's going on now here in El Paso County, if they could maybe suspend that for right now, since we're actually higher than the DFW Metroplex.
You're talking about, Kim, suspending the three applicant requirement.
Yes, Mayor, exactly.
Okay, I don't know. I haven't. Sam, we got it. One of us is gonna have to check on that. You know who we need, Sam, Lindsay, go to Jessica Herrera, or you could do a CR, but Jessica's been working with Workforce.
Okay.
Okay, so see what, just, I'd pose that question, so we go through the process and see what we can dig up on that, and then you guys can have a response for Kim.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Margot. I appreciate it.
Sure.
And Kim, what I will do is, you're absolutely right, because my brother just told me the exact same thing, that the need to go out and look for work during a pandemic time has been halted. So that is good information, and I can follow that up. I have some contacts at the Texas Workforce Commission as well.
You know, I'm always out here supporting the Northeast and getting the information put out there. Mayor Margot doesn't know much about me, but you know that I look out for everybody who's out there job searching just like me.
Yes, and we appreciate you so much. We appreciate all of you. I see faces popping up here. Hey, Vanessa. Hey, Ron. I just saw you guys pop up on my screen. But Mayor, I'm going to go ahead and give you 2 minutes to close with anything that you want to let. As you can see, we have a lot of people on here.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Sam. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you all. I've said all along that the only way we're going to get behind this is when this pandemic ends, and it will end. But when it ends, we're not going to just reopen our economy. We're going to have to rebuild it. And we actually have had more activity this year during the pandemic in the way of businesses interested in El Paso, in RFPs, and ultimate jobs and investment than we had all last year, as ironic as that may be. In fact, as I can tell you, I carry the stats with me. Let me find them. We've had, let's see. I got so many note cards. Okay, yes, here it is. This year, we've had 3,559 new jobs. We've had 7 completed projects, 33 RFPs. I mean, businesses interested in, or their site consultants wanting a proposal from us. 36 actual site visits. We've had 113 data requests, which means I want to know more about the El Paso Borderplex region. And then we've made the announcements we've made the announcements, and most of our leads are coming from manufacturing, which I think is positive, 61%. 28% are coming from business services like Prudential and Schwab and those things, and then 11% on logistics. And so what we've announced this year so far is that we've, we got Amazon. Everybody thought it was pie in the sky when I became mayor, and Amazon talked about their headquarters. We went ahead and applied for it. We applied for it not because I was convinced we had a chance, although I thought we were the only area that I thought in North America that had remember when Amazon advertised, they said we want to have 50,000 employees, we got to have location, et cetera. Well, we were the only area in North America that I think had done it when we did BRAC with Fort Bliss. Think about that. I mean, they built another city. It's what, $7 billion of investment. We brought in 36,000 troops and family members, which are out of that, and we did that. So I said, but my main issue was I know that we are just an unknown jewel, and people don't know it. And I've tried during the crises we've had to deal with, from immigration to our August 3rd shooting and to now this pandemic, to be mindful of explaining to people who we are and what we're about and what makes us special. And we are the largest bilingual, binational, bicultural region in the Western Hemisphere. We're a region of 3 states and 2 countries, a population of 2.7 million, and an average age of 31. I don't know where you can find more human capital resources, Kim, than you can find in our region. And that's what we're selling. As an HR person, you know what I'm talking about. We're selling human capital, the people we have, and it is phenomenal. And that's what I'm trying to do as mayor. I've been doing economic development since the 90s, even when I was in business. So I'm convinced we can move ahead, but we're going to have to rebuild our economy. And that's what I would like to continue to do for the next 4 years if you all decide to have me reelected. But that's kind of the bottom line. And I'll close with one other thing on a high note. If you allow me a comment of personal privilege. Today, my second grandson was born. My oldest son lives in, this will be number 4 in the second grandson. He lives in Miami. And Ian Wakefield Margot was born at 2 o'clock today, El Paso time, weighing 8 pounds, 2 ounces, and being 21 inches long. So in spite of all the deaths, the pandemic, it kind of shows what the good Lord allows. So
congratulations, Mayor.
Congratulations.
All right, I'll call the AG, find out what's going on.
Hang on, Grandpa. Lindsay's got one more for you.
Okay.
Oh, I just, I mean, I can answer it if you need to go, but I just had there was some other questions about streamlining the testing process. How do we, some places there's a 5-day wait, some day you get it the next day. Why is that happening?
epstrong.org, you should have a myriad of choices. Some of them are immediate that day, some of them are walk up. Most of them want, the best ones want the appointments. My wife just got tested. It took 2 days. She made the appointment 2 days, done in 15 minutes. It just depends, but we got 53 testing sites and we're opening 2 more. We're testing almost over 9,000 a day. And last week we tested over 50,000. We've tested a total of over 500,000 in El Paso. So it's there, epstrong.org. Go there, get signed up. It should work. There are just a bunch of places and locations, and it just depends on where you go. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you,
All
sir.
right.
Have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you all. Take
Good
care.
night.
God bless.
Good night.
There was some other questions that he didn't get to answer, so I want to make sure they're answered. If you all want to hang out, you can. If not, you're free to go. This isn't school,
Take
so you
care,
don't have to
Mary.
stay. But I just wanted to make sure everybody got their answers before we closed out the meeting. Let's see, that one was already answered. Somebody was asking about when there's enforcement issues. I don't know if you guys saw I saw it on Instagram. I don't know you guys, if it was on the news or not, when a person is given a restaurant or a business is given a citation, there was some news that it's written to whoever is in charge. So like if let's say it's a restaurant, it would be for the manager. And a lot of people were concerned about that because they're like, shouldn't it be the business owner's responsibility? Because why is the manager being held responsible when they're just trying to do their job, basically? And so they talked about that at council on Tuesday, and how that enforcement works. So when you write a citation, you can't write it to a business. It has to be written to a person. And so it's written to whoever is considered in charge at the time. So in most cases, that would be the manager. So I just wanted to make that clear. Mr. Molinar is saying he can answer that question. I don't know what else. If you want to go ahead, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me, Lindsay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes. So under the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, the violation has to occur in the police officer's presence or view. So that's one of the major reasons that you do cite the manager, the assistant manager, whoever it is on duty. Because I can tell you, if this citation ever goes to court, a smart defense counsel, he's going to ask that police officer, was that owner on duty? Did you see him operating that business, that restaurant? And that police officer is going to say no. Well, you know what? The judge is going to dismiss that citation. So all that work would be for naught. So that's one of the other reasons you need to follow the Texas Code of Criminal Procedures so that is taken care of. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that.
I have a couple more announcements. I just want to let you all know, I know I mentioned El Pasoans Fighting Hunger is looking for volunteers, but I wanted to let you all know that there are a lot of locations in Northeast giving out food. Like so many, I can't even keep up with them. So if you know somebody that needs food, there's the distribution site at the Nolan Richardson Recreation Center, which is, it's actually in District 2, but it's close enough if you need food. Also, we got a notice, I don't know if Mr. Taylor is still on the call, but he sent us an email letting us know that Destiny Family Christian Center, located at 9615 Dyer, will be hosting a food giveaway every Friday from 3 to 5. So every Friday until further notice from 3 to 5, Destiny Family Christian Center, 9615 Dyer, you can go get food there. Also, at Northeast Bible Restoration Church on Fairbanks, I don't have the numbers, let me get them for you. From 5 to 7 on Fridays, you can get food there as well. So a lot of Northeast churches have stepped up and they're providing this, they're partnering with El Pasoans Fighting Hunger to provide food for our community. So I just want to give a big shout out to them and thank them, because that's really great. And also, if you know anybody that needs food, please send them that way.
And Lindsay, may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Also, Sun City Fellowship right there in Casner Heights, okay, where the old YMCA. So every other Friday, they give out food. They're working with fighting with hunger. So we have a lot of locations here east. Just make sure you're letting people know, because look, these are trying times, and people need the security of food, and that's why so many spaces are popping up in the Northeast, is because we have citizens that need this. You know, there's no shame in it if you need these services. No one's going to ask you questions. You basically, where you live, get your phone number, email, and that's it. And no, they're not going to ask you why you want it. They're just going to give it to you. Okay. So we have quite a few places in the Northeast. So Lindsay will get that information pushed out to you. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Yeah, it's all in our newsletter. The only one that's not is the one I just mentioned that Mr. Taylor provided at Destiny Christian Center, and that's because we just got it right now. But all the other ones are in our newsletter. I also wanted to let you all know, hopefully you all can come out and support. Rep. Morgan has been asked by Vitalant, which is formerly United Blood Services, to host a blood drive. So they are hosting a blood drive in his honor on December 11th from 1 to 5, and it will be held at Northeast Bible Restoration Church, which is located at 4925 Fairbanks. So we're needing 20 people to sign up for that. If you all are interested in giving blood and donating blood in Rep. Morgan's name, please do that. You can email us and we'll get you signed up. You do have to sign up in advance, but please do that. We know it's COVID, but our community still needs blood. So all the social distancing and mask wearing will be enforced. But if you guys are available December 11th, 1 to 5, to give blood, please do that.
And we are looking for people to obviously volunteer in advance, because it's important, so they can know, how many people bring out, so on and so forth. She's like, what? I'm just joking. But if we can get 20 of you all, come on, we got a great community here. I think we got 20 folks who'd be willing to help people, because everyone's so worried about COVID that they're forgetting that we still have emergency services. People are still getting in accidents. People are still having, transplants. People are still being diagnosed with life-threatening injuries, and we can't forget about the things that the normal everyday things that happen. So it's very important. Just so you guys know, full transparency. This is not some political gimmick. This is not something that's done to get votes. This is something that every city representative does every single year. We're asked because we have the ability to reach into the community and get volunteers. So this has nothing to do with my campaign. Full transparency, okay?
Yeah, this is.
I'm just sponsoring
it. Yeah, this is completely, through our office. So please come out and support. Yes, Julie mentioned, don't forget that some of these food banks deliver. So yeah, I've mentioned that in the past. If you know anybody that can't leave their home and needs food, the El Pasoans Fighting Hunger delivers to your door. So we can get you that information. So if you know somebody that needs the food delivered, thank you for that, Julie. I have 2 people raising their hands. We'll just take those 2 questions and then I think we'll wrap it up so we don't keep you all too long. We'll go ladies first. Go ahead, Kim.
Thanks, Lindsay. I just wanted to let you guys know, Walmart has those cute little polar fleece blankets for like $2.50. There's these big racks, and some of our neighbors who are really struggling, you know, for Christmas time, may not be able to provide anything to their children or their grandparents or anything like that. Those are less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks. So you could actually do a drop-off gift for your grandparents or friends or whomever. And then I'm keeping some for our homeless who are sitting out at the corners of Trans Mountain. Yes, they're there all the time, but you know what? They need a blanket too. So in this really strange time, a blanket goes a long way. And so I am going to give up, even though I'm on unemployment, I'm going to give up $20 and go buy some more blankets and prepare some care packages for some elderly I know who live in my neighborhood who have underlying conditions who cannot even leave the home. And also for our homeless who most of them are veterans. And once you start a conversation with them, they feel like they have some new meaning. So big thing of them in every color at all the Walmarts. They're like $2.50 and they're a really good size blanket. It's just something we could do for each other, you know. I mean, I'm still out of work, but I'd rather not have a gift this year, but give somebody who is barely making it for their kids have a warm blanket. Thanks.
Yeah, I love you.
All right, last question. John Justice, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to ask if we have any kind of connection at the city with maybe the community college or someone who has a television studio, so they could do a little movie format of people having watch parties at watching a football game and sharing the same dip, and 20 people all packed in together and screaming and yelling with no masks, and then a little, instead of having a text or a cartoon, have a little simple movie showing what's going on and say, are you spreading the virus? Do you know everybody as well? Or something like that. And then maybe they could do the same thing for some of the restaurants, the smaller restaurants, some kind of a video that shows the kinds of things that they should be doing there, like the young lady suggested, and let them know that it's available for them to watch or something, the restaurants. But anyway, I think we need more visual explanation about what's going on, if it can help. I don't know if there's a PR group in the city could get together with the community college or do it themselves. I don't know. Anyway, just wanted to suggest it.
It's a good suggestion.
We have an entire public information office that's been working on a lot of graphics and videos this entire time, and they're all on social media. If you guys follow the city on Facebook and Instagram, they're out there. They're also on epstrong.org. But I do think it's a good idea, Mr. Justice, for a video to show how the spread works. But there's a lot of videos, so I'll send that over as an idea for them, but they make tons of videos all the time, so I'm sure that wouldn't be too hard for them to accomplish.
It's probably just me, because all I do is watch TV. I don't know all those digital Facebooks and all that stuff. So
for those of us that are in the military or spent time in the military, we had all of those. Every time you deployed to Germany, they showed you all this scary stuff. You're going to get kidnapped. You're going to get hurt. There's legalized drugs there, but you're a U.S. citizen. Don't get caught smoking dope.
OPSEC, Sam. OPSEC.
Yeah, you guys remember OPSEC? There you go. So, John, that's a great idea. As Lindsay, if you could, that one right there is one that we need to send straight to the city manager. Okay, that'll give it some legs. John, thank you, because that's a good idea.
Perfect.
No problem.
All right, I don't want to keep you all too long because it's already 6:15, but I do want to say I already got some emails of people signing up for the blood drive, so thank you. You guys are awesome. Thank you all for joining us. I think we got a big turnout for the mayor. We're here every week, so please join us every week if you have time. And yeah. Oh, I think if you guys need to go, you can, but somebody else has a question. Jocelyn, go ahead.
Yes, sorry about that. I waited till the last minute.
No,
I
you're
just
okay.
wanted to ask, I don't know if Rep Morgan and Jolene would be interested in doing maybe like a questions forum. I would be happy to host one. It could be virtual, just to bring more attention to to the runoff elections. You know, a lot of people are not that involved in local runoff races. So I don't know, would you all be interested?
Okay.
I know, kind of putting you on the spot, but maybe I could, or if you could give me your contact information and maybe we can talk about this.
Okay, Lindsay, you can go ahead and pass it on to Lindsay. I can take that, but in this forum, you know, obviously not, but I'd be more than happy to sit down and talk with you about a forum that works better for you and the regular constituency. You notice I didn't tell anyone on here to vote for me this time around, right?
Right.
So we're not talking about that stuff.
Yeah.
But
so
hey,
go ahead.
we there's just certain rules we do have, and what we'll do is Lindsay will get your contact information. She'll blast it over to me, and you and I can have that conversation offline. And the rest of you guys, thank you for doing everything that you do for the Northeast. Oh my goodness, you guys, we had what 22,000 people from the Northeast come out to vote. We've never seen more than like 7,000. So we crushed it. Okay, so that means the Northeast is what does Oprah call it? We woke. You know, we realized that hey, our vote is our voice and it's our power. And you guys, the rest of the city saw that. The rest of the city saw it. So keep doing what you're doing out there, and keep participating. Keep letting us know what's going on. Keep being our eyes and our ears, because with you we expand our reach. We can't do it without you, baby. Okay. So with that being said, you guys have a good night. We'll see you next week.
See you next week, everyone. Be safe out there. Wear your masks.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
If I see you without the mask, I'm getting you.
This is the only time I get to wear makeup.
You guys have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
How do you sign off, Lindsay?
In the top right, there's a little button that says leave. It's a red button, my little phone. It should be on the top right, unless, I don't know, because it updated, so it might be at the bottom. I can,
Yeah,
I
phone,
can,
like the phone thing that you hang up. Is that what you do?
yeah,
No?
you can click that and it will hang you up.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Have a good one. Alrighty, let me record.